Welcome to Tipsy Chisme, where we drink, you listen,
and we gossip.
welcome back because we did not film last week, and this one may or may not be up by Sunday, so we shall see. Today I got my Miller's Light beer.
She's a beer girly or whatever.
I'm a beer girl.
Got twisted tea.
I love me like some Smirnoffs or anything like that. Hate the twisted teas though.
I'm not that big of a fan of the flavored ones. I will say that. Or like the lemonade, half and half. I don't really like that one.
I don't know. I just think tea and alcohol don't belong together.
Controversial. If y'all have any drink recommendations,
Let us know. We'll try something new. So this week we're gonna be basically just talking about tea in general, but specifically about cousins,
dun dun dun.
and they were cousins.
Not that kind of trouble or drama, I guess.
I mean, like nasty cousin stuff, like Alabama, down in Alabama.
Talking about Alabama cousins.
So there was a story that we had heard about growing up, or more recently got a little bit more insight on it. But there was this dude that had been dating around. He was a flirtatious guy, and he started dating this girl. And there was one time that he went over to her house, and her dad comes out and starts yelling at him and was like, "No, you can't date her." And he's like, "The heck? Like, who are you to tell me I can't date her?" And he told him, he was like, "Because you guys are cousins." And these people had already like been making out and everything, so they kissed each other and they liked it. There was also a case here in North Carolina that I had seen. I'm very into true crime and all that stuff, so I do my research. There was a couple here that they were first cousins.
They were first cousins?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were first cousins, and they had sexual relations, and the woman ended up being pregnant, and she kind of just ignored it because she didn't think that the baby was going to survive, because incest and whatever. But it did survive, and so the woman gave birth, but she was scared of the fact that like she had a baby with her cousin, and so disclaimer, I guess we forgot our disclaimer, but disclaimer is a little graphic.
So if you're sensitive to these violent topics, please skip forward.
Essentially, they killed their baby, and or the I think I don't know if they did it together. I'm pretty sure the woman killed the baby, and then she told him about it, and then he disposed of the body. Well, they disposed of it in their backyard, and it's
How?
not known. Like, they haven't put it out there in the
Public?
yeah, in the public, but one of the neighbors had stated, which to me is kind of weird that they knew this, but there was a mower that hadn't moved, but then after all that situation happened, the mower had been moved. And so the theory is that they used the mower to dispose of the body, but they do know that the like remains were scattered throughout the backyard. So
That is crazy. That's crazy that the neighbor noticed that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, what little things do you notice like that?
But I feel like a lot of people here don't have a life.
That's true. But I don't see us like noticing. I guess there's certain things.
I know of a person who, every time there's a new car in the neighborhood, notices that there's a new car in the neighborhood and proceeds and says, I don't know whose car that is. Well, of course you don't know whose car it is. It's 5 houses down to your house. Why should you know whose car it is? That car hasn't been here before. Okay?
Actually, the reason my dad finds out a lot of stuff. Like, I think it was when we first moved here. He told us, he goes, "Oh yeah, the neighbor's having an affair," and we're like, "How do you know that?" Like, we keep to ourselves here, And I'm not saying like we have the hugest like yard or whatever, but our houses are pretty like spread apart. But apparently, this woman, she came over because she does trap and release cats, and there was a cat that was hanging out in our backyard, and so she came over to ask if it was okay that she stepped on our property to catch the cat. And my dad was like, "Oh yeah, like sure, go ahead." And the cat hung out under his car, and so he was explaining the car or something like that. And then she started talking about her husband's car, but then I think he told her like, "Oh, I haven't seen him around. Like I haven't seen his because he rides a bike. I haven't seen his bike around." And she goes, "Oh yeah, he cheated on me." And she starts like telling him the whole story of him cheating on her, which is crazy because I'm pretty sure that my friend who was pet sitting for us, I'm pretty sure he actually heard the affair happen because it was during that time that um I think her car hadn't been coming or something like that. Like she was out of town, I guess, or something. And he had the windows open here, and he heard people getting it on. But there's a lot of people that live in that house, so
Yeah, I don't even know who lives there anymore. I see so many people come in and out of that house. It's crazy.
we don't notice anything.
I mean, I don't like. I know there's a lot of people. But I don't care to even say hi to them.
Yeah, she's antisocial, is what she means.
Yeah, pretty much.
I feel like this has been the perfect neighborhood
Hmm.
for us because we haven't had any issues because people generally just don't care here.
Yeah, and I feel like everybody does keep to themselves.
Yeah.
If they don't approach you, they don't like, hey, hi. Like
Hmm.
you have those people like when you're driving, they're like, I dove deep into the internet looking for some juicy gossip, and to be honest with you, it was kind of hard to find a lot of interesting gossip, I guess, pertaining to this topic specifically. A creator, Itati Lopez, she has a podcast. She is well known to have trouble with an aunt and the aunt's daughter, her cousin. And there's always been like this back and forth fight going on between them. And during this fight, on her podcast, she states, so the cousin wants to like expose and threaten, like, oh, you're talking about me and my mom. Like, how dare you? Just wait until I get a chance to do that, basically, because she's saying that Itati's only able to air everything out because she has a platform. So she's saying, I'll expose you. And Itati's like, okay, do it. I dare you. And I'll also expose you for because I had to take you to CVS to get a plan B because you slept with our cousin. And during that whole time of like going to the store and getting the plan B, also FaceTiming this said cousin the whole time, and Itati's cousin was like, "No, he's not my cousin. He's not my first cousin, second or
Yeah, they
third
were
cousin."
second.
Yes, and I mean that's still a cousin.
They're still
They're
cousins.
still cousins. I know that's different for like cultures, I guess. For example, like it's us at least, like Mexicans. We have a lot of primos, a lot of subprimas, even if they're not really like maybe even third cousins. Like they're very distant, but we still consider them cousins.
Yeah. I don't
So there's
know.
that, but in this case, it wasn't like a far away cousin like that. It was pretty
I've
close.
always said that it's even weird to me when people date people that have the same name as like a relative. Like when you were dating him, I was like, uh.
But also, that name is such a common name.
Well, yeah, that's also
It's such a
it's
common
also a
name.
difference there because you always date Hispanic men and I don't.
Not always.
Usually. And I don't date Hispanic men, so most of them don't even have the same name. But
Exactly.
I know that if they had the same name,
Okay,
I'd be like, actually, I don't like you because of your name.
this was one guy that I did like whose name was the same as my dad's, and because of that, it was too weird for me,
Yeah, I would hope so.
and I couldn't. If I were to have a kid and I want to name him or her after somebody, I wouldn't name the same name as somebody that was living, at least. Maybe somebody that has passed, But even then, like,
Yeah, that's what I meant because I want my daughter to have our sister's name. There was a school shooting.
it was in Georgia, no?
Georgia, yes. It was in Georgia. It was this, I think he was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently this boy like hadn't gone to school that often. Like he was very absent most of the time. And the days that he was there, just very quiet to himself and everything. And I don't think they've even released like the reasoning behind his actions, but there was just one day that he took a gun which his dad purchased for him, and well, actually, previous to this, he had already made a threat on Discord that something about a school shooting, and the FBI had gotten involved, and they had talked to him, and he was just like, no, like I don't mess around with those kind of things.
That
Like,
was the year before, no?
yes, he was like, it's just a joke or whatever, and they left it alone. Which honestly, the people that were bashing the police for that, like, I don't think there was much more to do other
I
than
mean, they couldn't do much. There wasn't any like hard evidence for them to like incriminate him and like
and
put him
kids
in
are so
jail, stuff like
stupid. Like
that.
they say stupid
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes, and this kid was put on the watch list actually.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they just like, oh, whatever, like they put him on the watch list.
Mhm.
And I think when the shooting happened, the police were already kind of aware of
Yes.
all
Which
that.
actually, they apparently there was a boy with the same name when the shooting happened, or when they found out that it was going to happen. They approached the other boy and were like took him out of class, but it was the wrong dude, the wrong
No,
boy.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if you want to hear like the factual story, go to like a true crime stuff or
Don't
something,
listen to us.
because I get my information from TikTok. So, but
That's the disclaimer.
but yeah, so the little boy had taken a gun that his dad had purchased for him to school, and he had gotten up from his seat. He left the classroom, but the doors locked behind them. So once you get out of the classroom, you have to be let back in. And he had tried to go back into that classroom, and the teacher told the girl to go open the door, and she saw that he was pulling out a gun, and she just said, no, I'm not opening the door. He has a gun. And that's when the teacher alerted, and with the system and everything, like, I think they had a very good system on hand, and
Mm-hmm.
people did die, but I think
It could have been much, much
it could
worse.
have been horribly worse.
I agree.
um I know one of the teachers that passed, I think it was the male teacher. He The reason he passed was because he guarded one of the other kids, but I'm pretty sure that the kid he was trying to guard was also one that had passed. I know there was two kids and two teachers.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what happened with that one, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't think they've like put specific details out there as to how or anything like that,
Yeah.
which obviously because it's kind of fresh, like the kids aren't gonna want to talk about it. But
If it's under investigation as well, they can't really
yeah,
give that much information either.
I do know that the father did get arrested too,
Yeah, I
which
saw that.
people were like mad that no one was doing anything about the dad, but they were. He did get penalized for that. So yeah, that was crazy. And
I saw that the aunt had been reporting this child with CPS and stuff like that. I did see that because the dad,
she reported the dad to CPS.
yes,
Hmm.
the dad wasn't being a very good parent. The child was basically screaming for help. That's what she said. Like this child was trouble and was trying to get help in a way, get attention, acting out to get attention, which is very normal
Yeah.
behavior. Um, so the aunt kind of knew like where all this was headed in a way, and she was very vocal about it, and she did try to take appropriate steps. And she said like she doesn't excuse their actions, obviously, but she's basically advocating for mental health.
Yeah. I also had seen a story about this couple that had been in a abusive relationship, and the woman called the cops one day because he was like following her, trying to attack her, and she defended herself and she called 911. She had the whole thing on recording. Well, when 911 got there, they arrested her because in a domestic violence call, which we saw in the Secret Life of Mormon Wives.
Yes.
Um,
That's what I was thinking you were talking about, honestly.
no, in domestic calls, they have to arrest someone, which I don't really understand why, but they have to arrest someone, and because that guy wasn't there, they had to arrest her, which is crazy because
What?
she was defending herself. And she told him, she's like, I have it on recording, like I'm showing you. And the thing with that is that you could hear the audio, but you couldn't see it because she had her phone in her pocket. So she called 911 on him, but she ended up getting arrested for it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was another couple, which I don't fully believe that story because I don't know, they're kind of weird, but it's a very famous like TikTok couple,
Okay.
and they said that she had been taking some sort of medication or something like that, and she had drank wine not knowing that that medication was supposed to be combined with alcohol, and she wanted to leave her house and the husband wouldn't let her because she wasn't in the correct mental state. And so she called the cops saying her husband wasn't letting her leave the house, and they got there and they arrested him, and then she bailed him out, and then they like hid it away, but then followers found his like arrest photo, and so like they came out and they said this whole story about, with domestic violence someone has to get arrested and that's why he was arrested. But I don't know, that couple's a little iffy to me, so I don't know if I fully believe that story.
And it sucks. I don't know about that couple specifically. I don't even know who it is, but it I feel like that pattern you kind of do see a lot in domestic violence.
Yeah.
The person who is being a victim tries to cover up for their
Mhm.
abuser and even bails them out of jail and it's like, okay, yes, so let me, maybe this time they'll change or maybe whatever, like
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it's really hard because it's really hard to break that cycle. A lot of people judge them, but it's mentally very hard for this person to break that cycle.
Yep.
So if what that was happening, like that sucks for her, and hopefully she
Mhm.
does get the help she needs.
This girl had been cheated on multiple times.
That same person.
Yes. I mean, they would break up for a day, they'd get back together, and he'd cheat again, and there was like different levels of cheating that he would do each time. Like sometimes it was just, oh, he was flirting with this other girl through text, or other times it'd be like he went on a movie with this girl and they were making out, whatever the case was. And she went back to him every single time. When I had gotten cheated on, something like sparked in her and was like, yeah, 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 I'm gonna break up with him. She broke up with him for a day, got back with him. And to this day, they're still together. And honestly, like, genuinely, I hope that he did change and that they
Yeah.
are happy, because seeing her like that, like she was so young, they were in couples therapy. She was, I don't know, 16, 17.
Yeah.
Imagine being that age in couples therapy. That's crazy.
That is crazy and that is sad. And unfortunately, it happens a lot like that, especially when they're young. I feel like you just start getting attached to this person too, and you don't want to give up
Mhm.
basically if it's your first love and all of these things. So you build this like toxic relationship, and I feel like toxic relationships are super duper common now.
Yeah.
Like it's majority of the relationships I see are toxic relationships.
Mhm.
And it's really sad, especially seeing it in young couples. And I feel like, again, it has to do with that not a lot of people know how to deal with their mental health and their mental problems and their mental growth and how to be their own person. I feel like a lot of codependency exists, a lot of keeping it up for the looks, basically. Um, Very superficial things. I feel like a lot of people are becoming very superficial, and yeah, not a lot of emotional maturity, maturity, and maturity in general either. Like I've know grown 30-year-olds who still act like high schoolers, middle schoolers.
Now, don't
So
get me wrong. I love me some immature jokes sometimes.
yeah, I mean it's okay to be a juvenile in a way, like joking around and all that stuff. But for example, I don't consider you an immature person. I consider you very
I
mature.
get that a lot. Like, I'm very mature, but I can be immature, like, when I want to
Because you're
be.
playing around.
Yeah.
But if you need to grow up, basically, in the sense of it, if you say, okay, I have this bill, I know I need to work for this bill, so I'm going to work my butt off and pay my bill and get this situated, organizarte, todo eso. I feel like a lot of people les falta eso. They're like, oh, I don't know how to do that.
I have an
Oh.
immature sense of humor, but I'm a mature person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did read a story online on Reddit, and it's talking about how this girl, she had a boyfriend, right? Young boyfriend, all this stuff.
How is this game?
As a young girl, young teen or whatever, she got this boyfriend, grew up with him basically. Her older sister, I think they were the same age as, like, I think the older sister was the same age as her boyfriend because the boyfriend was older. And the older sister got married and had kids. No, she didn't have kids. She got married, bad marriage, divorced. She didn't have anywhere to go. The sister was like, "Well, you can still stay here with me and my boyfriend. It's okay." She moved in, got with a boyfriend, and all three of them worked in the same place, which I thought was so weird.
Hmm.
And um, the boyfriend was growing like kind of distant, and like she felt like maybe we need to take a break because like their routine was so mundane for them. Like they would all go out together, they would go to work together, they would live together. Like it was so much.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, you know what? I think I need a break. So she told the boyfriend like, hey, we need a break. Let's take a step back and grow together individually first. A ver si todavía podemos estar juntos. All that stuff. And the boyfriend was very upset about that, but let it be. Again, they work together, so they would still see each other every day at work, which is weird. And she noticed that the sister was doing much better. She said, "Okay, well, at least she's doing good." Then she started noticing that like her sister would get ready to go out, and they would always go out together. But then she would notice that her sister would just get ready and leave, and she'd be like, "Hey, ¿a dónde vas? ¿Qué pasó?" And just started noticing that she was being like more and more distant. And come to find out that her sister and her boyfriend got together. Come to find out the sister and the boyfriend were hooking up before they
That's
even got separated.
crazy. That's nasty. I think it's nasty when people date people and think that their siblings are hot. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it is weird. And I think it's funny with like cases with twins too.
Okay. Yes. Especially if they're identical.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're in love with that person, like, okay, personality, yes, that's a whole other thing. But
Mm-hmm.
looks, like you say, this is a sexy woman right here, right? There's no way you can't find the twin sexy because they're literally the same
So
person.
when they say you're the most beautiful person in the world, I know. What about my sister? Yeah, that's crazy. I don't. But twins is tricky because they actually look like each other, so it's a little different in that sense, I guess.
Yeah,
But like, I agree. If you're attracted to your partner's sibling, like
that's freaking crazy.
it is.
Especially because when you get married, like they become your brother, your sister, and so
Yes.
that's freaking weird. Like Jaren's brother is my brother now, so that's nasty.
If you find their sibling objectively that they're objectively a very attractive person, I feel like it's okay for you to accept. Like, yeah, es guapo, es guapa, you know.
Mhm.
But to be actually attracted to them, that is
Mhm.
weird. Period.
Yeah.
Because it's also cheating on your partner. That's how I see it. Being because you can be attracted to not attracted to people. You can find other people. Don't look at it. What you looking at?
What you got there, girl?
A bracelet.
What does it say?
Don't worry about it.
What does it say? Show me. Show me.
You can acknowledge somebody else's beauty.
Yeah.
Basically, you can acknowledge like this person is a very attractive person, but to be attracted to that person, or to be lusting for that person, or like, because I there's different levels of cheating in my opinion. You can be emotionally cheating if you're being attracted to somebody else and you're like starting to dream about them, lusting for them, getting these ideas, daydreaming. That's cheating.
Well, we'll add the disclaimer at the end since we kind of forgot in the beginning. But I guess disclaimer for this video is that this is all shit and giggles, okay?
Don't take us seriously.
Don't fucking take it seriously. It's not that deep. The stories are, you know,
Stories.
they're just
Some stories like we know of stories, we hear stories, we've been told stories, stuff like that. Doesn't mean that that person's telling the truth. So
yeah, it could all be freaking made up, and we're just telling you guys made up stories right now. Again, with the whole like crime stuff, it's not completely factual, so do your own research if you're interested in that kind of stuff, because I know I am. Yeah, so positive note.
Positive note.
Don't get your cousin. Bye.